Australia's vast and ancient landscape has preserved an extraordinary record of human history, stretching back over 65,000 years, the oldest continuous culture on Earth. From the earliest evidence of Aboriginal settlement to mysterious megafauna fossils and lost colonial shipwrecks, Australia's archaeological treasures reveal a deep and complex past. These discoveries challenge old assumptions, rewrite history books, and provide profound insights into Indigenous traditions, early European exploration, and the continent's unique natural history. Below are 30 of the most remarkable archaeological finds ever made in Australia, each offering a fascinating glimpse into the nation's heritage. Australia's most incredible archaeological discoveries that rewrote history. Montabelloo Rock Shelter, Northern Territory, 1970s-2017. The Montabelloo Rock Shelter in Arnhem Land represents one of the most significant archaeological sites in global human history, with evidence of continuous occupation dating back an astonishing 65,000 years. Excavations led by archaeologists from the University of Queensland uncovered more than 10,000 stone artifacts, including the world's oldest known edge ground axes, ochre crayons used for artistic or ceremonial purposes, and grinding stones that suggest early processing of seeds or ochre. The site's stratigraphy, confirmed through optically stimulated luminescence dating, revealed distinct layers of human habitation separated by periods of abandonment corresponding to climate changes. Among the most remarkable finds were microscopic residues on tools indicating they were used to process plants, as well as the earliest known use of reflective mica pigments in the archaeological record. The discovery forced a complete reassessment of the timeline for human migration out of Africa, proving that modern humans reached Australia far earlier than previously believed and demonstrating the sophisticated technological capabilities of these first Australians. Ongoing research at Montabelloo continues to provide new insights into how humans adapted to and transformed the Australian landscape over tens of thousands of years. Lake Mungo, New South Wales, 1968-1974. The Willandra Lakes region of western New South Wales contains one of the most important archaeological complexes in Australia, with Lake Mungo at its heart. Here, in 1968 and 1974, researchers discovered the remains now known as Mungo Lady and Mungo Man, dating back approximately 42,000 years and representing some of the world's oldest known ritual burials. Mungo Lady's remains showed clear evidence of cremation, the earliest known example of this practice anywhere in the world, with bones deliberately broken after burning in a complex funerary ritual. Mungo Man, discovered nearby, had been carefully buried with his hands clasped and his body covered in red ochre, indicating sophisticated spiritual beliefs and ceremonial practices. The site also preserved the world's oldest known human footprints, a set of 20,000-year-old tracks fossilized in clay that capture a moment when a small group of people walked across the wet shoreline. These discoveries fundamentally changed our understanding of Aboriginal culture, proving that complex spiritual beliefs, artistic expression, and ceremonial practices existed in Australia tens of thousands of years before similar developments in Europe. The finds also provided crucial evidence about the dramatic environmental changes that transformed the once lush Willandra Lakes system into the arid landscape seen today. The Kimberly Rock Art, Western Australia, ongoing. The Kimberley region of Western Australia contains one of the world's most extensive and significant collections of rock art, with some paintings dating back at least 17,000 years and possibly as old as 40,000 years. This vast open-air gallery includes two major traditions: the elegant Guan Guan, Bradshaw, figures depicting slender human forms with elaborate adornments, and the more recent Wandjina spirit beings with their distinctive halo-like headdresses. The art provides an unparalleled visual record of Aboriginal life spanning millennia, showing changes in technology, from boomerangs to spear throwers, clothing, including what appear to be tasseled skirts and hair adornments, and interactions with now extinct megafauna. Some of the most intriguing panels depict what may represent mythological events or actual historical occurrences, including possible representations of the rising sea levels that flooded the Sahul Shelf at the end of the last ice age. The art's remarkable preservation in the Kimberley's sandstone shelters has allowed researchers to study the evolution of artistic techniques, from early hand stencils and simple figures to complex multi-layered compositions. For contemporary Indigenous communities, these galleries remain living cultural spaces where creation stories and traditional knowledge are encoded in the imagery, with some sites still used for ceremonial purposes today. The Brewerina fish traps, New South Wales, ancient. The Brewerina fish traps, known as Byamese Nunhu in local Aboriginal language, represent one of the world's oldest and most sophisticated examples of aquaculture, with evidence suggesting continuous use for at least 40,000 years. This extensive network of stone-walled channels and pools built across the Barwon River demonstrates an intricate understanding of fish behavior, hydrology, and sustainable resource management. The traps consist of hundreds of strategically placed rocks forming V-shaped channels that guide fish into holding areas during seasonal migrations, allowing for selective harvesting while maintaining fish stocks. Archaeological studies have revealed multiple construction phases showing how the system was adapted to changing river conditions over millennia. The site also features associated camping areas with evidence of fish processing and cooking, as well as ceremonial grounds indicating the cultural and spiritual significance of the traps. What makes Brewerina particularly remarkable is that the basic design principles, based on careful observation of natural river flows and fish behavior, remain valid today, with some sections still occasionally used by local Aboriginal people. This enduring engineering marvel challenges outdated notions about hunter-gatherer societies and demonstrates the deep ecological knowledge developed by Indigenous Australians over tens of thousands of years of interaction with their environment. The Tasmanian Tiger, Thylacine, Caves, Tasmania, 20th century. Caves across Tasmania have preserved crucial evidence about the Thylacine, Tasmanian tiger, providing insights into its biology, distribution, and interactions with humans. The most significant finds come from the Mount Cripps and Mowbray swamp areas, where exceptionally well-preserved thylacine remains have been found alongside Aboriginal artifacts dating back at least 4,000 years. These sites show that thylacines coexisted with Tasmania's Aboriginal people for millennia before European arrival, with some cave paintings possibly depicting the animals. Fossil evidence from mainland Australia, particularly the Naracoorte Caves in South Australia, reveals that thylacines were once widespread across the continent but disappeared from the mainland around 3,000 years ago, possibly due to climate change and human activity. The Tasmanian population survived until the 20th century, with archaeological evidence from colonial-era sites showing how quickly hunting pressure and habitat destruction led to their extinction. Recent discoveries of thylacine specimens preserved in museum collections have allowed scientists to sequence the animal's entire genome, offering hope that we may one day better understand this iconic marsupial predator's biology and evolutionary history. The Sydney Rock Engravings, New South Wales, 18th century present. The Sydney Basin contains one of the world's densest concentrations of Aboriginal rock engravings, with thousands of petroglyphs carved into sandstone outcrops across the region. These intricate designs, estimated to be between 5,000 and 7,000 years old, depict a wide range of subjects including marine animals, whales, fish, and sharks, land animals, kangaroos, echidnas, ancestral beings, and complex geometric patterns. The engravings at Terry Hills and the extensive gallery at West Head in Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park are particularly noteworthy for their size, complexity, and excellent preservation. Archaeological analysis has revealed that the carvings were made using a combination of techniques, from pecking with stone tools to abrading with sandstone blocks, and that many were periodically reworked over centuries. Some panels appear to represent creation stories or important events, while others may have served as territorial markers or teaching aids. The engravings provide crucial evidence about Aboriginal life in the Sydney region before European colonization, showing the importance of marine resources and documenting now extinct animal species. Despite extensive urban development destroying many sites, surviving engravings remain spiritually significant to local Aboriginal communities and continue to be studied for insights into Indigenous knowledge systems and artistic traditions. The Warratee Rock Shelter, South Australia, 2016. The discovery of Warratee Rock Shelter in the Flinders Ranges revolutionized our understanding of human adaptation to Australia's arid interior. Dating back 49,000 years, this site contains the oldest known evidence of human occupation in arid Australia, pushing back the timeline for inland settlement by at least 10,000 years. Excavations uncovered a wealth of artifacts including bone tools, red ochre, and the earliest known use of gypsum pigment in the archaeological record. The shelter also yielded fossils of extinct megafauna, including the giant wombat-like Diprotodon and large flightless birds, providing possible evidence of human interaction with these species. Among the most significant finds were fragments of the oldest known bone tools in Australia and early examples of hafted stone tools, demonstrating sophisticated technological adaptations to the harsh environment. The site's stratigraphy shows periods of occupation corresponding to wetter climatic phases, with abandonment during arid periods, providing crucial data about how early Australians responded to climate change. Rewrote challenges previous theories that suggested humans avoided arid zones until much later in Australian prehistory, instead showing remarkable adaptability and resilience in the face of environmental challenges. The Betavia Shipwreck, Western Australia, 1963. The wreck of the Dutch East India Company ship Betavia, discovered off the Aboriginal Islands in 1963, represents one of the most dramatic and well-preserved maritime archaeological sites in Australian waters. The ship sank in 1629 after striking a reef, leading to a notorious mutiny and mass murder among the survivors before rescue arrived. Archaeological excavations have recovered an extraordinary array of artifacts including bronze cannons, silver coins, navigational instruments, and personal items that provide vivid insights into 17th-century maritime life. The site has also yielded human remains, including skeletons showing evidence of violent trauma that corroborate historical accounts of the mutiny. Underwater archaeologists have meticulously mapped the wreck site, revealing how the ship broke apart and how survivors salvaged materials to build temporary settlements on nearby islands. Perhaps most remarkably, excavations on Beacon Island uncovered the remains of the survivors' camp, including makeshift graves, defensive walls, and evidence of metalworking using salvaged materials. The Betavia wreck has provided crucial information about early European contacts with Australia's western coast and remains a key site for understanding Dutch East India Company shipbuilding techniques and 17th-century maritime trade networks. The Hobart Convict Brickmaking Kilns, Tasmania, 1980s. Archaeological excavations in Hobart during the 1980s uncovered extensive remains of early 19th-century convict brickmaking operations, providing remarkable insights into Australia's penal colony era. The site contained multiple kilns where convict laborers produced bricks under harsh conditions, with the bricks themselves bearing fingerprints and occasional inscriptions left by their makers. Excavations revealed the complete production process, from clay pits and pug mills to drying sheds and firing kilns, showing how convict labor was organized and managed. Personal items found at the site, including tobacco pipes, gaming pieces, and makeshift tools, offer poignant glimpses into the lives of the convict workers. Some bricks bear the broad arrow mark indicating government property, while others show evidence of being deliberately sabotaged by convicts resisting their forced labor. The kilns operated during the critical period of Hobart's early development, with their bricks being used in many of the city's oldest surviving buildings. This archaeological site provides tangible evidence of the convict system that shaped early Australian society and economy, revealing both the harsh realities of penal labor and the ways convicts resisted their oppression. The Eureka Stockade Site, Victoria, 1854-present. Archaeological investigations at the Eureka Stockade Site in Ballarat have provided important physical evidence of Australia's only armed rebellion, which occurred in 1854 during the Gold Rush era. Excavations have uncovered musket balls and ammunition that allow researchers to reconstruct the positions of miners and soldiers during the brief but bloody confrontation. Personal items found at the site, including miners' tools, clothing fasteners, and fragments of the original flagpole, help paint a vivid picture of life in the goldfields and the material culture of the diggers who fought for democratic rights. The distribution of artifacts has helped verify historical accounts of the battle, while soil analysis has revealed the precise location of the stockade's defensive perimeter. Perhaps most significantly, archaeologists discovered the original foundation of the flagpole from which flew the Eureka flag, now a potent national symbol of protest and democracy. These material remains complement documentary sources to provide a more complete understanding of this pivotal event in Australian history, which led to significant political reforms and became an enduring symbol of popular resistance to authority. The Mongo megafauna fossils, New South Wales, 1960s present. The dried lake beds of the Willandra Lakes region have yielded one of the world's most significant collections of Pleistocene megafauna fossils, providing crucial evidence about Australia's lost giants. Excavations at Lake Mungo and surrounding areas have uncovered remains of Diprotodon optatum, a rhinoceros-sized marsupial, Geniornis newtoni, a 2-meter-tall flightless bird, and Megalania prisca, a 7-meter-long goanna. These fossils, dating between 50,000 to 20,000 years ago, are often found in association with Aboriginal stone tools, fueling ongoing debates about whether human hunting contributed to their extinction. The discovery of butcher marks on Diprotodon bones at Cuddy Springs and Geniornis eggshell fragments showing evidence of cooking provide tantalizing clues about human megafauna interactions. The fossil beds also preserve remarkable snapshots of past environments, with layers containing everything from ancient cycad forests to dune systems that formed during periods of extreme aridity. These finds have helped scientists reconstruct how Australia's climate and ecosystems changed during the last ice age, and how both humans and animals adapted to these dramatic transformations. The Jukin Gorge rock shelters, Western Australia, 2010s. Before their tragic destruction in 2020, the Jukin Gorge caves in the Pilbara region represented one of the most archaeologically significant sites in Australia, with evidence of 46,000 years of continuous human occupation. Excavations revealed a 7-meter-deep cultural deposit containing thousands of artifacts, including the oldest known bone tools in Australia, dated to 35,000 years ago, and a 4,000-year-old plated hair belt that provided the first direct genetic link between ancient and contemporary Aboriginal people. The site's stratigraphy showed how tool technologies evolved over millennia, from early flake stone tools to later hafted axes and composite implements. Among the most poignant finds were grinding stones with residues showing processing of native millet and other seeds, demonstrating early plant food use in arid environments. The rock shelters also contained rock art panels depicting thylacines and other extinct fauna, serving as both an artistic record and a spiritual archive for the Putu Kundi Kurama and Pinakora peoples. The destruction of these irreplaceable cultural deposits sparked international outrage and led to major reforms in Australia's heritage protection laws. The Port Arthur Penal Settlement, Tasmania, 1970s present. Archaeological investigations at Port Arthur have provided remarkable insights into Australia's convict era, uncovering the best-preserved penal colony remains in the country. Excavations have revealed the foundations of the original 1830s prison, including solitary confinement cells with graffiti scratched by inmates, and the hospital ruins where medical instruments and medicine bottles were found. The site's underground drainage systems contained thousands of artifacts discarded by prisoners, from handmade gambling dice to improvised weapons and tobacco pipes with secret compartments. Forensic analysis of skeletal remains from the Isle of the Dead cemetery has provided chilling evidence of the physical toll of convict labor, showing spinal deformities, fractures, and signs of malnutrition. Perhaps most remarkably, archaeologists discovered the original timber foundations of the Point Poor Boys Prison, the first juvenile reformatory in the British Empire, where artifacts like carved toys and illicit stills speak to the resilience of child convicts. These material remains have helped historians reconstruct daily life in what was essentially a 19th-century gulag, while also giving voice to the thousands of convicts who built colonial Australia. The Victoria Fossil Cave, South Australia, 1960s present. Naracoorte's Victoria Fossil Cave contains one of the world's richest Pleistocene fossil deposits, with bones of 100 extinct species accumulated over 500,000 years. The cave's natural pit traps preserved complete skeletons of Thylacoleo carnifex, marsupial lion, Prosoptodon galea, giant short-faced kangaroo, and Zygomatorus trilobus, a wombat-like creature the size of a rhinoceros. Stratigraphic layers show how Australia's fauna changed through multiple ice ages, with diprotodons dominating during wet periods and smaller, hardier species prevailing in arid times. The site's most controversial finds are megafauna bones with possible cut marks and burn patterns, potentially indicating human hunting around 45,000 years ago. The The cave also preserves ancient pollen and plant fossils, allowing scientists to reconstruct how Australia's vegetation responded to climate change. Ongoing excavations continue to uncover new species, including a recently identified giant echidna and previously unknown predatory birds, making Naracoorte one of the most important paleontological sites in the Southern Hemisphere. The Sydney Cove Shipwreck, Tasmania, 1977. The discovery of the Sydney Cove wreck in 1977 provided archaeologists with an unparalleled time capsule of early colonial commerce. This British merchant ship sank in 1797 while carrying 7,000 gallons of Indian rum, tobacco, and textiles to the fledgling Sydney colony. The cold Tasmanian waters preserved an astonishing array of organic materials, including leather shoes, woolen clothing, and even sealed bottles of beer, the world's oldest surviving examples. The ship's cargo manifest, found perfectly preserved in a tin box, allowed researchers to match artifacts with specific merchants in Calcutta. Among the most significant finds were Chinese export porcelain packed in teak crates, showing Britain's burgeoning trade networks across Asia. The wreck also yielded personal items belonging to the crew and passengers, including ivory toothbrushes, silver razors, and handwritten letters that survived underwater for 180 years. Excavations revealed how sailors attempted to save the ship by jettisoning cargo, with artifacts scattered along the seabed in a pattern that told the dramatic story of its final hours. The Sydney Cove wreck provides unique insights into the material world of early colonial Australia and the global trade networks that sustained it. The Gold Rush-era Chinatowns, Victoria, New South Wales, 1990s present. Archaeological excavations at 19th-century Chinese mining camps have uncovered a rich material record of Australia's earliest Asian communities. Sites like Beechworth and Hill End have revealed Chinese herbal medicine bottles, gambling tokens, and imported porcelain from Guangdong Province. The most significant finds include traditional hearths for cooking communal meals, opium pipe fragments, and modified mining equipment showing how Chinese miners adapted European technology. At Ararat's Chinaman's Dam, archaeologists found ritual deposits of coins and jade placed during construction, a practice brought from southern China. Perhaps most moving are the personal items recovered from isolated huts: bone toothbrushes, abacus beads, and letters home-written on rice paper. These artifacts testify to both the cultural resilience of Chinese migrants and the racism they endured, with many sites containing evidence of arson attacks during anti-Chinese riots. Recent work using geophysical surveys has located previously unknown temple sites and market gardens, revealing the true extent of these once thriving communities. The archaeology of Australia's Gold Rush Chinatowns provides an important counterpoint to Eurocentric histories, showing how Chinese migrants shaped the nation's economy and culture from its earliest days. The Montabelloo Islands nuclear test sites, Western Australia, 2000s. The Montabelloo Islands off Western Australia's coast preserve haunting archaeological evidence of Britain's 1950s atomic tests, offering a sobering window into the Cold War era. Underwater surveys have mapped the scattered wreckage of HMS Plime, the ship deliberately destroyed in the 1952 Hurricane atomic test, with its twisted metal hull now serving as an artificial reef. Onshore, archaeologists have documented the concrete observation bunkers, instrumentation towers, and blast-proof cameras used to record the explosions, many containing original equipment and handwritten logbooks left behind after the tests. The islands also hold Aboriginal stone artifacts and shell middens that survived despite the nuclear blasts, demonstrating the remarkable resilience of Indigenous cultural materials. Recent studies using radiation mapping have shown how the landscape itself became an archaeological artifact, with soil layers containing detectable isotopes that precisely mark the 1950s tests. The site serves as both a Cold War memorial and a case study in nuclear colonialism, where remote Indigenous lands were appropriated for destructive experiments without proper consultation or cleanup. The Dampier Archipelago petroglyphs, Western Australia, ongoing. The Dampier Archipelago, Maruvuga, contains the world's largest concentration of ancient rock art, with over 1 million petroglyphs carved into the dark volcanic rocks. Dating back up to 50,000 years, these carvings depict everything from extinct megafauna to 19th-century European ships, forming an unparalleled record of cultural and environmental change. Recent digital recording projects have revealed superimposed images showing how artists returned to the same rock panels over millennia, adding new layers of meaning. Among the most significant discoveries are detailed carvings of thylacines that help date early artistic phases, and complex geometric designs that may represent star maps or ancestral narratives. The site also contains ancient quarry pits where the distinctive red ochre used in ceremonies across Australia was mined. Unfortunately, industrial development has damaged many panels, making ongoing documentation efforts crucial. For local Ngarluma people, Maruhuga remains a living spiritual landscape where creation stories are encoded in the rocks, and where traditional ceremonies continue to be performed. The Risher Sha Bay Whaling Stations, Tasmania, 1990s. Archaeological investigations at Tasmania's Risher Sha Bay have uncovered remarkably intact remains of early 19th century Anglo-American whaling stations, providing physical evidence of Australia's first major export industry. Excavations revealed brick try works where whale blubber was rendered into oil, surrounded by layers of ash and burnt bone that built up over years of processing. The sites yielded harpoon tips, cutting tools, and copper cauldron fragments identical to those used in New England whaling ports. Most significantly, archaeologists found Aboriginal shell middens containing whale bones with butcher marks matching European tools, proving that local Palawa people participated in the trade. The discovery of glass trade beads and clay pipes in these middens shows how quickly Indigenous Australians incorporated new materials into their cultures. These whaling stations represent some of Australia's earliest industrial sites, predating the gold rushes by decades, yet they also testify to the ecological cost of colonial expansion, with historical records indicating local whale populations were decimated within 20 years. The Lake Condah Aquaculture System, Victoria, ongoing. The Gunditjmara people's ancient aquaculture system at Lake Condah represents one of the world's oldest and most sophisticated examples of fish farming, dating back at least 6,600 years. This vast network of stone-walled channels, weirs, and ponds was designed to trap and farm short-finned eels, Anguilla australis, which migrate seasonally through the area. Archaeological surveys have mapped over 100 square kilometers of modified landscape, including stone house foundations that indicate semi-permanent settlement tied to the eel harvest. Excavations uncovered specialized harvesting tools like woven eel traps and bone spears, as well as smoking pits used to preserve the catch. The system's engineering shows deep understanding of hydrology and fish behavior, with channels designed to funnel eels into traps during their autumn migration. In 2019, the site gained UNESCO World Heritage status as one of the few known examples of prehistoric aquaculture worldwide. For Gunditjmara people today, these structures are not just archaeological features but living cultural landscapes that continue to inform traditional fishing practices and water management strategies. The Rottnest Island Aboriginal Prison, Western Australia, 2010s. Archaeological work on Rottnest Island, Wajemup, has uncovered confronting evidence of its time as an Aboriginal penal colony between 1838 to 1904. Surveys have identified the original prison barracks, solitary confinement cells, and burial grounds where at least 369 Aboriginal men and boys who died in custody were interred in unmarked graves. Excavations revealed leg irons, punishment collars, and improvised tools made by prisoners from scavenged materials. The discovery of traditional stone artifacts alongside European items shows how incarcerated Noongar people maintained cultural practices under oppression. Perhaps most chilling are the prison records found preserved in lime-rich soil, listing prisoners' names, tribes, and often the simple notation, died. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have located previously unknown burial sites, helping descendants identify where their ancestors were laid to rest. This archaeology gives physical form to a dark chapter in Australia's history, when the island served as a key institution in the displacement and control of Aboriginal people across Western Australia. The Calgori Super Pit mining landscapes, Western Australia, 2010s. Archaeological studies of Calgori's gold mining district have revealed a layered industrial landscape documenting Australia's mineral boom from the 1890s to today. The massive Super Pit, visible from space, contains preserved remnants of hand-dug prospector shafts from the 1890s gold rush, now exposed in its walls like an archaeological cross-section. Surveys have mapped abandoned mining towns complete with foundations of pubs, brothels, and Chinese market gardens. Among the most significant finds are improvised mining technologies like hand-powered winches and homemade explosives, showing how prospectors adapted to harsh conditions. The site also preserves evidence of early environmental damage, with mercury-contaminated soil from gold processing and erosion patterns caused by reckless water use. Recent work has focused on migrant worker camps, where artifacts like Italian wine bottles, Cornish pasty ovens, and Afghan camel gear testify to the region's multicultural labor force. This industrial archaeology provides crucial perspective on how mining shaped Australia's economy, society, and environment over 130 years of continuous operation. The Kokus, Keeling, Islands Wrecks, Indian Ocean, 1990s present. The remote Kokus, Keeling, Islands hold one of the Indian Ocean's richest concentrations of historic shipwrecks, with at least 25 vessels dating from the 17th to 19th centuries identified so far. Underwater archaeologists have documented everything from Portuguese carracks laden with Ming Dynasty porcelain to British tea clippers carrying Australian wool. The most significant discovery was the wreck of the Speedwell, a British merchantman lost in 1721, whose cargo of silver coins and ivory helped rewrite understanding of early India-China trade routes. The island's lagoons also preserve 19th-century whaling ships with intact tripods for rendering blubber, and pearl shelling boats that operated in the region's once lucrative mother-of-pearl industry. Perhaps most intriguing are the improvised repairs found on many wrecks, from coconut fiber caulking to patches made from salvaged metal, showing how sailors coped with damage far from home ports. These wrecks form a maritime cultural landscape that reflects the Kokus Islands' strategic position on historic trade winds routes between Europe, Asia, and Australia. Recent excavations have also uncovered pre-European artifacts suggesting the islands were occasionally visited by Indonesian fishermen and possibly Aboriginal Australians long before colonial settlement.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.